All right, I got a fun reading for you here on the top 10 strangest deaths of Roman emperors. As you're going to learn, the many Roman emperors were assassinated and died in office. And I found this really fun article that kind of narrows it down to some of the top 10. So here we go. Top 10 strangest deaths of Roman emperors. Between 27 BC and AD 476, Rome was ruled by 77 emperors. For most of them, it was not a long career. 33 of those emperors were murdered, while others died in battle and several killed themselves. However, here are 10 deaths that we think were a little more unusual. By the way, this comes from Ancient History magazine, one of my favorites. First, Valerian died in AD 260 or 260 CE. Valerian was defeated in battle and afterwards captured by the Persian king Shapur I. According to an account by Lactantius, the Persian ruler humiliated the emperor and eventually executed him by pouring molten gold down his throat. His body was then stuffed with straw and propped in a temple as a trophy. Whew. Oh. 2. Jovian, or back then probably would have been pronounced more like Jovian, died in 364 CE. Ammianus Marcellinus explains that this emperor, who reigned for less than a year, was overcome by the noxious smell of fresh plaster in his bedroom, or that the fumes of a huge fire brought on cerebral congestion, or that he died of indigestion after eating to excess, which means he could have died of a lot of things, but it's weird death and nobody knows. 3. Tiberius died in 37 CE. Most historians note that he died from an illness at the age of 77. However, Tacitus reports that initially the people, including his great-nephew Caligula, who later became emperor, mistakenly thought that the emperor had died and began celebrating. Then Tiberius regained consciousness and asked for something to eat. With everyone shocked by this recovery, a quick-thinking servant took the emperor's own bedclothes and smothered him to death, so that he really would be dead. That's the worst. Okay, 4. Caracalla died in 217 CE. This emperor was known for murdering his younger brother and co-emperor Geta, having his bride and wedding guests massacred after his wedding, and for being generally cruel. While out on campaign, he needed to stop and urinate along the side of the road. Julius Martialis, an officer of his personal bodyguard, who had been upset that Caracalla had had his brother executed a few days earlier, took the chance to gain revenge and stabbed the emperor to death while he was peeing. 5. Carus died 283 CE. Carus was camped with his army along the Persian frontier when a fierce thunderstorm came down upon them. Lightning apparently struck the emperor's tent, and when his guards came in, they found Carus dead. 6. Commodus died in 192 CE. This arrogant emperor, who saw himself as the next Hercules, did things like rename the city of Rome to Colonia Lucia Annia Commodiana, which means he basically named it after himself, of the light of Commodus, and fight as a gladiator in the Colosseum. His opponents were often defenseless animals or people with amputated feet. True, he would fight people whose feet had just been chopped off so they couldn't fight back. On 31st December 192 CE, some conspirators tried to kill him by poisoning his food, but Commodus vomited it out. Then they sent his wrestling partner into the emperor's private bath, where he strangled Commodus. Once he was dead, the citizens changed the name of the city back to Rome. 7. Valentinian I died 374 CE. This emperor was speaking with envoys, which are government representatives from a Germanic tribe, who commented that despite signing a peace treaty with him, their people might still attack the Romans at any time. This enraged Valentinian so much that as he yelled at them, a blood vessel burst in his skull, causing him to die. Literally, he got so mad, he died. 8. Nero died in 68 CE. Nero was known for his tyranny and extravagance. The historian Suetonius reports that his rule collapsed and the Senate sent men to arrest him. Nero tried to take his own life, but could not do the deed. He bemoaned or complained, "What an artist dies with me." Then he complained about his own cowardice, saying, "To live is a scandal and shameful. This does not become Nero." does not become him. One should be firm at such times. Come, pull yourself together. He was literally talking to himself. Just as soldiers arrived, he forced his private security, Epaphroditus, to stab him. Private secretary, excuse me, Epaphroditus, to stab him. So he had his own buddy stab him so that he would die. 9. Carinus died in 285 CE. Carinus was considered one of the worst rulers in Roman history. The Historia Augusta explains he filled the palace with actors and harlots, pantomimes, singers, and pimps. By marrying and divorcing, he took 9 wives in all, and he put away some while they were still pregnant. It is not surprising, therefore, that according to one version of his death, Carinus was assassinated by an officer after he seduced that man's wife. Seduced means to attract. So eventually, one of his own men got tired of Carinus loving too many people and killed him for it. 10. Vespasian died in 79 CE. Suetonius explains that this emperor liked to tell a good joke. As Vespasian was on his deathbed, he told his servants, "Oh dear, I think I'm becoming a god." The historian then adds, at last, being taken ill of diarrhea, to such a degree that he was ready to faint, he cried out, "An emperor ought to die standing upright." In endeavoring to rise, he died in the hands of those who were helping him up. Oh, what a terrible way to go. Here's a fun, did you know? Foods of the gods, allegedly said by Nero of the poisoned mushrooms with which his mother Agrippina the Younger murdered Claudius. Oh, if you look up the story of Nero, his mother murdered a bunch of people. And that, my friends, is the story or a list of 10 of the strangest deaths of Roman emperors.